Greetings, YouTube. Diane Lynn Savage is enraged. Why is she enraged? Because a Florida school program is teaching the word mosque. Now, a mosque is an architectural structure. It's a building. Just like fire department, police department, school, church, temple, synagogue. Those are all structures. That's all they are. And those structures don't really tell you anything about the people that go to the structures or what they do in the structures. Church, temple, mosque, we know that those are all holy buildings because of our education in America, which is so rife with religious contexts. And she's upset because she thinks that this is an attempt to indoctrinate children into the Islamic faith. And she wants to know, well, I thought you couldn't talk about churches and God. Well, if a school is prevented from teaching religious material in schools in America, they're not forbidden from discussing religious material in school. And in this case, they're discussing a building, which isn't even really discussing the religious material. It is discussing the existence of a structure. Seeing as there are 1.5 billion Muslims in the world, maybe it might be a good idea if American students knew where they worshipped and what it was called and how to use the word in a sentence like church or temple. But that seems to be just too much for Miss Savage, that she is just enraged about this. And here we have another shining example of someone that has a very limited worldview and doesn't grasp the sea of privilege that she swims in. You don't need to teach about Christian faith in America. It's everywhere. It is in our DNA in this culture, unfortunately. But that's not enough for Miss Savage. She needs to make sure that you never ever mention any other faith. Because if you do, that's an attempt at indoctrination. She makes a strange comparison about during World War II, if during the actual conflict, that students had been told about how great the Japanese culture was. Well, even though we were at war with the Japanese, doesn't mean that there weren't aspects of the culture that weren't interesting, that weren't great. And I have a love-hate relationship with most cultures, the Japanese in particular. But you can still discuss the culture. Before war, during war, and after war. You put things into context. And just discussing a word, a bit of vocabulary, is not indoctrination. By this logic that we would never discuss communism in school. We would never discuss capitalism in school. We would never discuss nihilism or surrealism or any other philosophical concept or political structure, literal or figurative. Because if you do that, in the eyes of Miss Savage, you are attempting to indoctrinate. This seems weird. This seems very Orwellian, very Kafkaesque, if you will. And I'm having a hard time grasping how this particular idea of language has evolved inside Miss Savage's head. If anyone could explain it to me, I would be very appreciative.